fascinating moment to be with the Vice President of the United States at the Korean DMZ at this time. It's obviously interesting to go anytime, but to be with him as tensions are incredibly intense. And the Vice President was making very clear that he came here to the Korean Peninsula with a really specific and rather new message from the Trump administration for North Korea. Here's part of our interview. You said that the era of patience, strategic patience, is over. What does that mean in real terms?
It was the policy of the United States of America during prior administrations to practice what they called strategic patience. And that was to hope to marshal international support to bring an end to the nuclear ambitions and the ballistic missile program of North Korea. That clearly has failed. And the advent of nuclear weapons testing, the development of a nuclear program, even this weekend to see another attempt at a ballistic missile launch, all confirms the fact that strategic patience has failed.
But what does it mean to end it in practical terms? It's either use military force or find a diplomatic solution that has eluded all of your predecessors.
No solution.
Well, I think as presidents made clear that
There's no solution.
Abandon the failed policy of strategic patience.
Really.
But we're going to redouble our efforts
go to war.
to bring
Okay,
diplomatic
folks.
and economic pressure to bear on
Like
North
his
Korea.
nuclear war might be imminent.
Our hope is that we can resolve this issue peaceably. And I know the president was
It's a very
heartened by
tense
these
time
discussions,
now.
with President Xi. We've seen China begin to take some actions to bring pressure on North Korea, but there needs to be more.
So you see there, Wolf, the era of strategic patience is over is the new kind of tagline for this administration and its policy towards
Nuclear
North
war
Korea.
imminent,
But
folks.
Even though I was trying to get some
North
specifics
Korea
on what
said-
exactly that means, we didn't get it, aside from what we frankly already know, that the Trump administration is trying to use China diplomatically to use its relationship and its leverage that it has with North Korea more aggressively, and even that the United States is clearly threatening China with potential economic and other sanctions if they don't comply. And also, what we saw when he came from the DMZ here to where we are now in Seoul, South Korea, rattling the saber more than we have seen in the past, certainly from the Obama administration, threatening. It wasn't very veiled, that threat. North Korea with the same kind of military might that the president already showed in Syria and in Afghanistan if they don't follow through. Now that is a big threat, but we're still not really clear what that
Threat means
in real
nothing.
terms. Well,
Dana, you're in Seoul, South Korea, the capital right now. It's only about 30 miles.
Could be
or
just
so
bullshit.
south of the demilitarized zone. It's a huge city, what, 50
Hey, folks.
million people or so. What's the
Mr.
move,
Trump wants to
in
start a
South Korea
nuclear
right
war.
now? These tensions
Seems
continue
like-
to escalate with the North.
This thing has to de-escalate, or this is really a troubling time right now, folks.
That the vice president chose to make his more forward-leaning remarks vis-a-vis military action in Seoul, standing next to the acting South Korean president. I was told that he was very careful with the language that he used, worked very hard on the way that he would frame that language, and the language is what I just mentioned, the notion of the North Koreans need to remember what the Trump administration has already done in Syria and Afghanistan with military might. The nerves are increasing. It obviously is not new. There has been a threat of a nuclear North Korea for the past 2 decades, but it certainly is even more so given the fact that North Korea continues to test missiles, and any day now they are waiting for what they think, frankly, here is inevitable, which is a 6th nuclear test any day, and that's why they are really concerned and focusing on and asking for the kind of help that we saw, even rhetorical help from this new U.S. administration. I can just tell you by way, as I toss back to you, of color, we saw some protests for the vice president as he was making his way via motorcade around Seoul, and those protests were, for the most part, holding up signs saying, please, Mr. Trump, Mr. Vice President, engage in a preemptive strike against North Korea. That just kind of gives you a sense of how nervous they are about their own safety and stability here on the southern part of the Korean Peninsula. Wolf.
Yeah, well, that would be a very
This
obvious
is really
threat.
crazy,
Obviously very
folks.
dangerous move, given the conventional weapons, forget about the nuclear
No
weapons,
question.
the conventional weapons that the North Koreans have
Exactly.
poised just north of the DMZ. All right, Dana, good reporting. Dana Bash is traveling with the Vice President. Also tonight, as the United States braces for the next move of an unpredictable dictator, President Trump is trying to stay unpredictable himself. Our senior White House correspondent, Jim Acosta,
Hey,
caught up
folks.
with the president earlier in the day, and you had a chance
All I have
to
for you
ask him
now
about North
on
Korea.
this.
Tell our viewers how it went.
That's right. Well, President Trump
Stay
is
tuned in on this, see what
North
happens
Korea,
any
telling me
further.
Earlier today here at the White House, the communist
Any
country
further
needs to
developments.
behave itself. But aides to the president insist he is still trying to use some diplomacy to resolve this potential